I am a very average person who got very, very, very lucky. But it shows what happens when you have a great idea with, pat myself on the back a little bit, great execution. The two things together, it's amazing what can happen because it just spreads so quickly. So this is the part where I want to sort of sound halfway intelligent about what I'm writing about. So the book, right? Stuff white people like. A lot of people end up asking me about the title, either calling me racist or asking me, like, what do you mean this doesn't include all white people? Because I get a lot of hate mail from people who write in, and they say things like, you know what, man, I don't like sushi, you know. I don't like outdoor performance fleece, man. This is racist. And I always like to say, I'm like, so if someone makes generalizations about your race that don't apply to you, you're offended? I think there's a few people you might want to talk to who can relate to this problem. So I get that a fair bit. But anyway, so where the title comes from. So white people. Now, I grew up in the middle of the city in Toronto, not a suburban kid, as witnessed by me not driving a car because I didn't get my license until I was 26. And I grew up during Toronto's change. So when I was a child, my neighborhood was still working class. There was actually a factory near my house. And as I grew up, all the working class white people moved out of the city. They were all priced out of the city. So literally, the only white people I knew growing up were the kind that I write about in the book. So when Miles and I talked about white people, these were the only white people around. I didn't meet my first conservative until I moved to the U.S. when I was 22 years old. And even then, it was like, seriously? You're 22. How are you so angry? But what that meant is it had created this really homogenous type of white people. Everyone was left-wing. Everyone was upper middle class. Everyone had an arts degree. And these were the type of white people. And the other thing that was interesting was, in Toronto, my high school is called Jarvis Collegiate. It's right downtown, and it's one of the most multicultural high schools in Canada. About 40% of the school are ESL students, English as a second language students. And that makes for an interesting high school. So I played 2 years of American football as a starter at my school on offensive line. For those of you unfamiliar with American football, the average NFL offensive lineman is 6'6", 300 pounds. The average American high school one's like 6'1", 230 pounds. I'm not anywhere near there. But when your school's made up predominantly of Chinese and Sri Lankan immigrants, I was one of the larger guys at the school. But it was really interesting. So the student body was made up of people who were very new to Canada, people who were second generation, third generation. And what happened was, if you weren't white and you liked anything that I talk about in this book, you were accused of acting white. So the example I like to use is I wrote a post about white people in shorts, about how white people break out shorts way too early in hopes that they can will spring sooner. That post was actually inspired by a Chinese guy named Long, who's really into hacky sack and camping and the tragically hip. And every single day he got called a banana. Every single day by the other Asian students. You know, yellow on the outside, white on the inside. And so, same thing with the Indian guys who were super into rugby. Well, you guys know. And it was, and that was the case. And so, white was not only necessarily white skin tone-wise, it was fundamentally a class thing. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. You don't have to be white, you just have to be rich.